Okay, so today's lesson 9. And last week we got our Google authentication working so we could sign up or sign into our global food site. Cool. I'll just open up the project and get it running. If you want to do the same. So I have a terminal. Start my app so we can have a quick look at it. So here's where we left it last week. So as an anonymous user, we get a read-only view of our data. And we had the ability to sign in either with a local account, username and password, or we could sign in with Google. And once Google would authenticate us, it would check our callback URL, which we listed in our globals file. Oh, it's actually trying to load my my live site from Heroku. Right, because in my callback at the end of class last week, I toggled my callback from my local to my live URL. So I'll just comment that out. My local one back. So this should redirect me back now. And now I'm signed in and it grabs my first name and last name from my Google profile. I'm authenticated, so now I can click any food to edit, or I can add, or I can delete. So we want to enable the Facebook login as well. 90% of the process is going to be the same as what we did with Google. We're going to have to go to the Facebook developer portal and create an app, generate an ID and a secret. Facebook calls those values app ID and app secret instead of client ID and client secret. We'll have to put in the redirect URI, and then there's actually one or two other things Facebook is going to require us to do that Google won't. So process will be similar, but not exactly the same. Facebook's process slightly more complicated. So we also want to add here a Facebook login button. And you can grab that from the lesson 9 folder. Lesson 8 or lesson 9 folder, it should be in both folders. So here's your Facebook login. button. So I'm just going to save this one. Same directory where I saved the Google button, save it into public and images. I think this this image is also in the lesson 8 folder. I thought we might get to it last week, so it's in that folder as well. So I'll want to add it to both the register and login views right beside the Google button. So somebody can either register or sign in. Rod? I hope so. I am. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we can go to our views and let's open both register and login. And beside my Google button, I want my Facebook button. And it's also going to go inside a link. We'll create a path that'll just go to /Facebook. If I break it this way, it'd be easier to see. So we'll just put the Facebook button and link immediately to the right of the Google button and link. I'll copy that same link. I'm going to cut it on my register view. Let's put it on the login view too. Click either one of these Facebook links right now, it'll give us a 404 because we're not obviously handling. There's no handler for that route yet. So we're going to get 404 when we try. Either way. So what else will we need to do to get this all working? We got our button and we got nothing else. There's 3 different things we'll have to do to make this all work. What's one thing we're going to need to do? Yes, we're going to have to go to the Facebook developer console and set up the application and get the keys. Yep. What else will we need to do? Yep, we'll need to write 2 methods in the controller. One that when we click it, it'll call Facebook, and then the second method to handle the callback when Facebook sends the user back to us. We're also going to need a particular NPM package. Right now, we've got Passport for local authentication and Passport for Google. So we're going to need a Passport for Facebook NPM package as well. So let's go to the Facebook developer console. And I think the URL is just developers.facebook.com. And if you click on the My Apps link, you can create a new app. Actually, I'll use a different account. Okay, we'll try that again. So I'll create a new app. Give it a friendly display name. We'll just click create the app ID, and that'll generate the keys for us. Now, one of the things Facebook does that's different from what Google does. So what we want to use here is Facebook login. So we'll just click on setup here. And you notice at the top it says our app is in development. So long as your app is in development, you or anybody you invite are the only Facebook users that can actually access it. So in order for anybody else to access it, we'll need to make it public, and there are a couple steps that Facebook's going to require from us in order to do that. So it wants to know what we're doing. We're building a web app, so I'll just click www. We can put in either the local, but typically would be put in the live URL to our site. So I'll save that. Now this other stuff, this is for the front-end JavaScript version. So I'm not going to keep going through the rest of this process. But we do have some other settings we need to modify, and then we'll need to grab the API keys. As Sukhpreet suggested, we'll need those in our app. So up here under the second link over on the left, under settings, click on basic. And we're going to have to fill out a few things in order to make our app public so that anybody could actually use their Facebook account. One of the things it wants is a privacy policy. So we'll have to make a really quick privacy policy and link to it here. So I'm going to put in my broker URL. We haven't created this route yet, but we can create it and just throw up a quick view. And like on Google, I think, well, we'll see if we can make it public. We may want to, it may force us to validate our domain the way Google did. We'll see. It also makes us pick a category, so I'll just pick education. I'll save these changes. Okay, so you know what, for now, I'll maybe just link directly to the homepage instead. It tries that URL, and that privacy URL doesn't exist right now, so it gave me an error here. I'm just going to put in URL to the homepage. Seems happier with that. So here's our ID, here's our secret. So I'm going to copy the app ID. We'll copy the secret. We'll also have to set up in here the redirect URLs. So after someone's authenticated with Facebook, Facebook needs to know where do we send the user to. So copy our app ID. And let's open up our globals file. And I'll create a Facebook section in here. After our, oops. I put a comma in after the closing curly brace that ends the Google section, and then we'll create a new section called Facebook. I'm going to paste in client ID. We might rename these variables after. We'll have to look at the Facebook NPM package. So you can see or reset your secret. Click the show button. Our callback URL will be the exact same as the Google one. We'll just replace the word Google with the word Facebook in the package. And eventually we'll add our live URL instead of the local one. We may rename some of these variables. We'll maybe have a look at the Passport Facebook NPM package. So we'll match our global variables to whatever the parameters are that NPM package is going to use. I'm going to go to my terminal and stop the server. And then we can go and find the package we need. Sorry? Well, I'm going to run it eventually, yes. I'm going to run it first locally. And then when I go to deploy it, yes. So we'll go to NPM. And the package we want, Passport Facebook. So used an awful lot. Wow, 73 billion downloads in the last month, and 17 billion in the last week alone. Sorry, that's all of NPM. Okay. So even though Facebook uses the variable names app ID and secret, the Passport package is still using client ID and client secret. So we want to install this package, and then we can start to configure it. So in your terminal, do an npm passport -Facebook. We get more audit warnings. I'll try to run the suggested command at the bottom to fix some of them. npm audit fix. We'll probably fix a few of them. Okay, so the audit did fix 10 of the 14 issues in our dependencies. We should be able to start the server again. So most of our work is going to have to be done in our app.js to configure Passport to use Facebook. So our code is going to be fairly similar to what we did here with Google, with a few changes. We're going to need to set up a Facebook strategy using the new package we just installed. We have to configure it with those the three values, our app ID, our app secret, and our callback URL. And then we need to handle the three different scenarios of what happens when we try to send a user to Facebook. Either Facebook doesn't find them, or they find them, and when they come back, we need to know, have they already signed into our site, or do we need to create them in our users collection? So similar logic, we're going to look up the user that we got back, but a few things here are a little bit different. So for example, obviously we're going to have to change the provider. The code's going to be just a bit different. So underneath our Google section, we're creating a new login strategy, this time using Facebook. We're telling Passport to use our Facebook strategy. We're going to grab those three values out of our config file. Up here. So it needs the ID, the secret, and the URL. And then after the closing curly brace here, put a comma, If we look at what's here, it's going to be similar, except parameters that Google gives us are a little different. Google parameters that send us back are a token secret, a profile, and done. Facebook's parameters, 2 of them are the same, 2 of them are different. Facebook sends us back parameters with these names. First one, the Google package calls token, the Facebook package calls access token. Same kind of thing. Facebook also sends back a refresh token. What is a refresh token? I see this a lot when we're dealing with APIs. Yep. Right. So if our user signs in with Facebook, eventually that Facebook sign-in may time out. If they're still active in our site, however, they need to be able to refresh their credential without having to log in, let's say every 10 minutes or every 20 minutes. So Facebook will give us back a refresh token. We get their user profile and the last parameter. So the last 2 parameters are the same, both for Facebook and Google. Who is the user we got back from that API, and then done, so we can move to the next thing. We want to check if this user already exists. MongoDB. Just like we did with the Google sign-in, we're going to use our user model. Call find one. We're going to pass in the ID we get back from Facebook. So if Nick is Facebook user 456, we're checking, do we have a user in our database with the OAuth ID of 456 from Facebook? And that needs to go in curly braces. There's our where clause. When we try to find this user, we're going to get back 1 of 2 things. We may get an error, or we may get a matching user. If we get a matching user, it means this person's already signed into our site before with their Facebook account. We'll just add our error handler. If we have no error, and we find a user in our MongoDB, we'll just call the done method. And we'll send the user that we found, we'll send Nick's account back to whatever controller called this method. In this case, user with this Facebook profile already exists in our DB. Their user account. Access. The last scenario is we have no error. We've checked our database for this user, and we don't have them. Meaning they've signed in with Facebook, and now we need to create an account for them in our own database. So in this case, as an else, this is into book user for our site. We want to save their Facebook ID. We want to save their display name. We'll set the provider as Facebook. And we'll timestamp them. Current date and time. And then we need to call the save method to actually save that new profile to the database. Once we've created them, then we've all done. We send that new user account back. Our two round brackets at the very bottom, they're closing these two round brackets at the top. Our passport.use and our Facebook strategy. I know it's a lot of code. We can't really do it one piece at a time. So we'll try, I'm going to give this a try. It may need a little bit of tweaking. The one other thing we still need is we still need the two methods in our index controller. Because right now, even with this configured, if you click the Facebook button, it just gives us a 404 error. There's no root handling on that path. So our app still doesn't know what to do. So I'm still going to get 404 when I click that button. So we need two get handlers. A get handler for the path localhost /Facebook and a get handler for the path localhost /Facebook /callback. And then I think we'll have to configure a little bit more in the Facebook developer portal. We still haven't set up any callback URL. Does anybody need to see more of this from up above? You can't see it all at once. Actually, maybe what I'll do, hang on a second. I'll actually push this right now. Okay, so if there's anything you need to see there, I've also just pushed it. So I want to open up the index controller and add the two get handlers for get Facebook and get Facebook /callback. So these are going to be really similar to the two root handlers we wrote for Google. So like we did with Google, our root is going to be /Facebook. And we're going to call passport.authenticate. In this case, Facebook. Now with Google also, we had to explicitly set that we wanted the user's profile. With Facebook, we're automatically going to get access to the profile. So this scope profile we had on line 105, we don't need this with Facebook. We just set up so there's no options there that we need to set. Sorry, so we can make this method a little simpler. So this should bring up the Facebook login box. I think there may be one other thing we'll also need to do with App.js, but we'll try it and see. And then we'll write our callback handler as well. We're going to call passport.authenticate. And we'll set up the failure redirect here as well. We'll go back to the login screen if for some reason this doesn't work. And if it does work, we'll take them to the food page. Same thing with the Google, same that Google does. So if it fails, take them to login. If they're successful, go to the food page. So we can try to run this now. It isn't complete, but we'll see it's going to fail. We'll just see where it fails. We know we haven't set up the callback URI anywhere in the Facebook app portal. As I said, I think there's one more change we're going to need to make to our app.js. The app is running, so we'll try it and see how far it gets. So I'll try my Facebook login. Okay, so this is good. It does bring up the login screen, sees I'm logged in, has the name of the app. I'll click continue. Okay, I guess Facebook's changed this because we didn't even have to provide a redirect URI. It automatically came back. We provided it in our code, right? When we when we set the strategy, we said that's the URL to come back to, but we used to have to also specify the redirect URIs here. In order to get it to run on Heroku, we probably will have to put the domain in. We'll see under advanced. So they've changed this around a little bit. Okay. So we'll probably have to add the domain in order to get this to run on Heroku. Now it's in development. So it did work. I am logged in. It did grab my username and password from Facebook. So now if we go and look in MongoDB, there should be a new user with my Facebook username, and my OAuth provider should say Facebook. And if I log out, right, my Facebook credential does not persist. I'm an anonymous user again. So now I can go back. Now it's created my account. Not sure what's going on here with Compass. Like to look in my database. So now that it's created my account, I should be able to just log back in. It signs me in because I'm still authenticated in this window with Facebook. Now, what happens if I try a different account? Wow, that's super efficient. So I have another Facebook account. If that means it's time to get up and move around. Okay. So here's what I get now. It authenticates me, but it's in development mode. So with my other Facebook account, it won't work. So it's okay to set it up in development mode for testing, but as soon as you try to have anybody else log in, they get this. So there's a few ways around this. One way around it is I could go to roles. I could go to test users, and I could authorize my other Facebook account as a test user, meaning both of those accounts could log in with my app, but nobody else could. So I could add a new user through here, or the other thing I can do is I could turn it to production mode. Now there's a few things it's going to want me to do. So it should prompt us for the missing pieces in order to make the Facebook app public. One thing it definitely needs is some URL for the privacy policy. We don't actually have a privacy policy. We're just linking to the home page. But we're probably going to have to authorize our domain at this point. We'll see what happens. It should tell us what we need, what else we need to do. So I may have to also publish this to Heroku to really know if it's working. It may not behave the same exact way locally as it does on a live server. So MongoDB's come back to life. So in my user table, okay, slight problem. So our code isn't exactly right here. Because notice, it actually created the same Facebook user twice. So we'll need to fix that as well. I think it has to do with, so our login worked, but we don't want to be creating them over and over. Has to do with these methods. We'll need to tweak them a little bit for Facebook login. It's working, but not really working properly. We don't want to have a million copies of the same user. Every time they sign in, we don't want to add them again to the database. So we'll need to clean these methods up. It's about 10 to 9. I think I left my power cable in our classroom from yesterday. So I'm going to put my running shoes on. I may be a little bit coming back. If I can't find it, I'll need to go get another power cable so my laptop doesn't die during the lesson. Okay, so I'll be back as soon as I can be back. I will push what we've got working so far.